Hey, it's Cecil, and it's Monday, and today we've got another makeup look. It's been a while. It's good to see you guys again. I am going to be, in this video, making myself to look like a jester. And while we do that, we are going to talk a bit about the jester's role in society, historically, and how I feel that translates to the present. If you're on the internet, there's a chance you've heard the term jester's privilege. This is referring to the fact that jesters were considered to be the only people that could make fun of the monarch and nobility without being punished. They were able to talk freely because everything that they did was a joke, a performance. They also were the ones who would deliver bad news when everyone else was too afraid to. So, when we talk about the jester's privilege, this is usually what people are referring to. Now, once we get into the theater, we have the Shakespearean fool, which typically refers to clever peasants and commoners who were able to use their smarts and outwit the higher class. This, in and of itself, is a very intentional artistic choice to show that, hey, being wealthy doesn't make you better than everyone. It doesn't make you smarter than everyone. And then, historically, there was also commedia dell'arte, uh, Italian comedy, which used stock characters. And if you play Genshin Impact, you're probably familiar with them. We've got Il Capitano, we've got Arlecchino, we've got several stock characters that make up the Fatui Harbingers, which I believe is a very intentional choice as well. But they used different stock characters to tell certain stories, some of which were more scripted and some that were a bit more improvised, but they all followed a sort of set of events to convey something. The characters were greatly exaggerated tropes. So, for example, with like the doctor, Il Dottore, you have this overconfident and self-aggrandizing doctor who is convinced that he's smarter than everybody else. That kind of a vibe, which already is a social commentary. But one thing that's really cool is that female roles were always played by women. There were a lot of efforts to, if you don't know, back in the day, particularly, in the 16th century, all of the roles in theatrical productions, no matter how scripted or improvised that they were performed by men. So the fact that this specific style of comedy and performance always had women playing women was revolutionary. There were efforts to outlaw it, but women were able to make their claim to the stage by the end of the 16th century, despite all efforts. So go off. Comedy is art, and art is political. During Napoleon's time, critics and those who were advocating for reform in Italy while France was occupying, they would wear carnival masks, which were similar to the Italian comedy masks. And uh, because of that, the art form was just fully outlawed by Napoleon, and thus did not see a resurgence until the late 1970s. In the present day, we have South Park versus the Trump administration. I don't watch it, I never have. But I do believe, obviously, that comedians do have a responsibility to keep the person in power in check. And I think that the reaction to it has been outsized, which just adds to the humor of it, where it's like, you're fighting with a cartoon. You understand this, right? You also have Colbert's cancellation for Trump's ego. You have Kimmel's brief cancellation regarding the Kirk assassination. And you see the irony in the "oh, it's just a joke" group, who very quickly turn around and are like, you can't joke about things. The recent No Kings protest was full of silly costumes. For the ones that I've read about, there were no arrests or any violence instigated. And yet, people in the Trump administration are still trying to be like, well, just because no violent acts were committed and no one set anything on fire doesn't mean there wasn't violent rhetoric. And it's like, that's cool. You're talking about someone dressed. People are in silly little costumes, my man. And you are acting like they are violent. And you look silly. And that's the point, right? Make those in power look goofy when they try to retaliate against you for criticizing them. Because they can claim violence all they want, but if you're doing a little jig and you're dressed as a frog, that's that's not gonna look too hot on their end, is it? This is important to me because my art has always leaned towards comedy. It's a coping mechanism, yeah. But it is also intentional. I want to provide levity. I want to provide a moment's reprise. But I also want to get you to think about things that you're otherwise avoiding thinking about through the vehicle of giving you something to laugh about. When I make something silly, I also want it to mean something. Even if it doesn't mean a whole lot, even if it is more silly than meaningful, I want there to be something. I think that the reason that even without a formal declaration of Jester's privilege, people are still allowed to say things when under the shield of comedy is because reacting violently to genuine comedy looks silly. And I think with that privilege comes a duty. I think that those of us who do make comedic content, I think that we have privilege and we have responsibility. It's very easy to turn to something lighthearted in hopes to shut out the world. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be so clear. Sometimes the world needs to be shut out. That's just the way that it is. Like, sometimes you do need to take a break and allow yourself to recover. Don't go into an activist burnout. But I think it is valuable to have something that gives a reprieve without completely numbing your thoughts to the world. Something that might just make you laugh in the moment, but you can return to later and engage with a bit more critically and be like, yeah, I see. I see what you're talking about here. I follow it. I know what the meaning of this is. That's the kind of art that I hope to make. Joy is in and of itself a form of resistance, but don't numb yourself off completely. Subscribe if you haven't already. Tip the court Jester at my Ko-fi if you would like to support what I do here. And I will see you in the next one.